Oh!
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. In this video I'll be showing how to replace the rear rotors on your vehicle. And as always, I'll be doing this job without any power tools or air tools. Really all you need are just basic hand tools to do the job. Only word of advice is give yourself enough time to do this job, just because very often the rotor can really solidify to the hub. And to remove it does take some time if you don't have a puller. And again, in this video I won't be using a puller. I really want to just show you guys on how you can do this with just basic hand tools. That being said, if anyone else out there have any other techniques or recommendations on how to remove the rotor, fantastic. Please leave the comments below in the comment box. And that being said, let's go ahead and let's get to it. Alright, once you remove the tire, just place it to the side, and now we have access to the caliper bolts. And you have two bolts that hold on the caliper. You have one guy up here, and then you have a lower bolt right here. Also make sure your e-brake is off, because if your e-brake is on, this caliper will be very difficult to remove. So go ahead and remove both of these bolts. Now these two bolts are 14mm nuts, and usually what I'll do is I'll tap the bolts loose using a small hammer. That way it just makes it a lot easier and you don't have to beat up your hands. Now we can go ahead and slide off the caliper. And this can be a little sticky sometimes, but there you go. And then we'll just place that to the side for now. So once you have the caliper removed, in the back here, in the back you have two nuts. These are 17mm, by the way, one up here and one on the bottom right here. And this holds on the bracket right here, which mounts the caliper. So you need to remove this bracket first before this rotor can be slipped off. And again, what I'll do, because these nuts over the years they rust up, they can be really difficult to remove. Tap it with a small sledge or small hammer, makes it a lot easier. Just keep on whacking it. And when it becomes loose enough, get yourself a ratchet. Let's watch your hands here. And there you go. One thing I'll also do is maybe I'll put a little WD-40 just so when I reinstall it, it's a lot smoother. It won't bind up as much. Alright, that's bolt number one. And then we have one more bolt. A little tough to see since it's so rusted. But yeah, one more guy right here. So for those of you out there that don't have air tools, you can still do this job with no problem. This is your first time doing this sort of thing, just start early, just in case something happens. You know, things come up all the time. But it really is not a difficult job. And even when you do this, you could spray a little WD-40 or PB Blaster. I'm a little too lazy to get up right now, but there we go. That's it. And just go ahead. There comes your bracket. Now, as you can see, my rotor is in good shape. My brake pads are in good shape. I did this job about a year ago or so. But the old rotor was really difficult to remove. What I did, number one, you can use a puller, which I didn't have. That makes the job a lot easier. But the other option you have, and really the only feasible option, is get yourself a hammer and around the circumference of the rotor, just tap it, keep on tapping it. But you're going to hit it hard. I don't want to hit it hard because this rotor is in good shape, but just keep on pounding it. All of the rust will come off of the rotor. And then essentially what you're going to do that for a couple minutes, and then tap the side of the rotor and it'll come loose, no problem. And slide it right off. And that's all it takes. Now if you're having a tough time removing the rotor and you don't have access to a puller, you can use this technique shown here. Essentially what you want to do is remove as much rust as you possibly can. Over the years, the rotor can really bind to the hub, and the only option you have is just to remove as much rust as you possibly can. Do this quite a few times because those rotors can really solidify almost to the hub, and it does take some time to jolt it away from the hub. Also hit the back of the rotor or the rear side of the rotor. Again, you want to try to jolt it off of the hub. After you've struck the back of the rotor, then go ahead and hit the side of it, and it should come right off as shown here. If it doesn't, just keep on repeating the process and eventually it will come off of the hub. Then go ahead, reinstall your new rotor here. And now we have to reinstall that caliper bracket. So go ahead and reinstall your caliper bracket. Make it nice and snug. And you can make these nice and snug with your ratchet. And then what I like to do is tap them down with the hammer. Then you can go ahead and reinstall your brake pads here. Like so. make sure it's nice and tight. You can tap with a hammer. And that's all that's really involved. Just go ahead and reinstall the wheel and you're in good shape. Alright guys, so that's all it takes to replace the rear rotors on your vehicle. Again, any questions, comments, please leave them below and I'll get back to you, and we'll see you next time.